Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography, and I try to remotely pick some topic to talk about, but somehow I always manage talking about something photography related. And as always, I'm so grateful everyone is here and joining me. This is really um, one of, some I used to really enjoy doing these live streams every week, and I wish I could continue to do that, and I'm going to try, but. Um, Wow. So today I picked a topic, um, no cure for gas. Because, with Black Friday and all the deals that we get, this time of year, it's hard not to shop. And I'm not so addicted to gear so much as I'm addicted to getting a really good deal. And I'm just looking at things I shouldn't be getting. And I ended up getting some stuff, and it's so embarrassing. Um, but let's talk about some things I got that I did really like. Um, I finally got my dream lens. This is a lens that I've had in my shopping cart on and off for I don't know the last couple of years, maybe since I started with Micro Four Thirds, in 2016. Um, but it's the 25 millimeter f1.4, the Panasonic Leica. And I guess it was last year or the year before, uh, when I had the group live stream. Um, I was debating getting that lens, and everyone said, "Just get it, just get it." And every time I looked at it, it was like 300 something, 400 something on the used market. And I finally was able to get one locally in my local camera store, District Camera, which I encourage everyone to support District Camera. If not District Camera, then your local photo shop, if you have one nearby and if it's convenient and all that. Um, but they finally had one in stock, and I said, now is the time, and they had a good deal on it. So I got it for 259 bucks plus tax, and um, it was like brand new in the box, mint. It was shocking. This one right here. I'm not using the stock lens hood that came with it. I just didn't care for it, so I put this little metal one on here. But yeah, this this lens, you know, it gives just slightly more bokeh, like a little bit shallower depth of field. Uh, that's not as big a deal once you get more than 6 or 10 feet away, like 3 meters. Then you really can't tell any difference between this and a 1.8. But what I did notice was the rendering of the bokeh is so much smoother. The Olympus 25, this one here is you know, so sharp. But believe it or not, this is actually sharper from the few tests I've done. And even wide open. I shot these both wide open, and I swear I can see more detail with this lens than with this one. Even though everyone says this is soft wide open, my copy is not. It is tack sharp, and it's just unbelievably sharp when you stop it down to f2, f2.8, and beyond. But the rendering of the bokeh is so smooth. The bokeh on this is kind of busy a little bit. Um, which is okay. I mean, it never really bothered me before until I got I got this, and now I'm like, this is all I'm ever going to use. So I'm debating if I should sell this one or not, to kind of offset some of the cost of all the other crap that I bought recently. And anyhow, so this is a purchase I made that I'm so happy with. And if you don't have this lens and you like 25 millimeters, I'm telling you, just get it. Just like everyone told me to do, just get it. It's worth every penny of the $259 I paid and more. I wouldn't pay more than 300 for this, but if you can get it for under 300 bucks, and this is the version one, uh, I highly recommend it. It's just sublime. And if you go to my Instagram or my Flickr page, uh, you'll see some of the images from this lens. I'm going to create an album for it. I'm starting to create albums for individual lenses. I started with the 75 to 300, which is another fabulous lens I recommend. But if you're looking to add a lens to your kit and you don't have this, if you have gas like me and you don't have this, or the 75 to 300, or the 40 to 150 kit lens, the f4 to f5.6, those are my three top choices for micro four thirds. Uh, by far. I mean, there's a lot of other great lenses out there. I think the Pro 45 millimeter f1.2 is nice, but it's big. This is small. It's not that much bigger than the Olympus version. It looks bigger, but when you have it on the camera, it really you don't feel the difference. Um, but yeah, 20 the Panasonic Leica 25 millimeter f1.4. Let me get my everyday bag. This is kind of like my everyday bag. David Crooks will know because he sees me with this all the time. But this and the 40 to 150. And the only time I take the 75 to 300 out is when I don't want to take my 300 millimeter f4, which is rare. So I don't take it out quite as much as I used to since I got the 300. Uh, but that's another purchase. The 300 millimeter f4, if you're into birding and wildlife, uh, get it used for like 2,000 bucks, but it's worth every single penny. It's so sharp and it's fast at f4. And I got the 1.4 tele converter for like $180, like brand new in the box. Shocking the deals I got. So I've been very lucky shopping this year, getting just about everything for about half what you would normally pay, uh, at full retail, either through a sale and or buying used. And this lens I bought for $99 years ago, and I think it's on sale now for probably around 100 or 140, somewhere in that range. But it's worth even $200 at full price. This is worth it. The 40 to 150 f4. So if you have gas and you want to get lenses, these two. This is easily justified after you take your first few pictures. You will not regret spending the money on this. Um, I don't think I can recommend the 25 f1.8 anymore after shooting the f1.4. Uh, Not that it's not sharp. It's like you have to pixel peep 500% to see the difference in sharpness between these two, at least in the center. Out to the corners, this is very, very sharp. This is not quite as sharp out to the corners. Uh, and the other issue with this lens is it kind of flares a lot with speculars, and I get a little bit of smearing, and I've had to kind of work around it when I'm shooting and editing and post processing and stuff, and being careful when I'm composing the shot. But I get this kind of smearing flare, and not a big deal. It only happens when I'm doing night photography, and that's really the only time, or in direct sun. Then you get this weird flaring from the sun. This lens does not suffer from that problem at all. I guess it's the coatings or how they polish the glass, but it's really amazing. This lens, I'm talking about lenses, right? But uh, this lens here, the 4150, this is so sharp and lightweight and cheap. I I have no reason to get the 40 to 150 f2.8. Thanks to like DxO's Photolab 7, which I use now with the deep prime. It has the optical corrections and sharpening and the denoising. There's no reason really to buy the f2.8 in my opinion. Um, and I know there's fans that love that lens, and it is a great, great lens. But for me, this more than satisfies all of my photographic needs in this focal range. Uh, to where I just don't feel a need to buy that lens or the 40 to 150 f4 Pro. Um, I've never shot with the f4 Pro version, but I just can't imagine delivering any better image than I can from this one. So there you have it. Everything else in the Olympus lineup, there's a lot of great lenses, or the Micro Four Thirds lineups, I should say. The 15 millimeter f1.7, the Panasonic Leica, that's next on my list. I know Robin. I think I saw Robin. Hi, Robin. How you doing? Thanks for coming in today. It's great to see you, and everyone else. I'm so grateful. Great Vanzini, William, Roger, Seraphin. You guys are awesome. Vic. Uh, I think uh, I don't. I lost my train of thought. I yeah, oh yeah, the 15 millimeter f1.7 is next on my list. I'm waiting to find a super killer deal. Right now, it's going for like 300 to 350. If I can get it under 300 bucks and in minty shape, I'm gonna get it without thinking about it. So there's that. And then I've made so many other purchases. There's so much gas and no reason to buy these things. I bought a new camera bag. Ah, I mean, I got so many bags, but let me get this new camera bag. Uh, so this is the Tenba DNA 9, I think, slim. It looks big on camera, but it's not. It's really a fantastic bag. And I got this bag because I couldn't fit in my other gas purchases. It didn't fit into my everyday bag here. Uh, I just couldn't get all the camera and the lenses. Which, if you guys know, last month I bought the Fujifilm XH2, so now it fits very nicely in here with three extra lenses. So I have the 23 millimeter f1.4, the 33 1.4, the 55 to 200, and uh, one other one in there. What was it? Oh, the 56 1.4. So I got, except for the zoom, I got all 1.4 lenses for the Fujifilm. But now, finally, this fits in very nicely in this bag, along with three other lenses. So I got four lenses and this camera, and of course the batteries and stuff just fit inside. This bag was 130 bucks. I had to pay full price on this. So this was a gas purchase. Like, I didn't even care about price. I just love this bag so much. I love the color. I love all the pockets, and it's so well made. And the key thing, the thing I like about bags, and you'll notice this if you've seen all my bags, is I like it when they stitch the strap directly into the bag. Uh, I know some of the cheaper bags, this wears out and comes off. Uh, but on the quality bags like Tenba and this low pro bag, uh, I've had this bag 10 years now, and it's stitched into the side. And I like the messenger style where I can just kind of flip it up and grab things. This has a zipper on the top. I mean, for a small bag like this, I don't know why they would bother with another zipper on top, but it has a zipper on top, and of course, all weather sealed and everything. Uh, nice stretchy pockets on. Oh, there it is. Man, I was looking for this. David finally returned this pocket warmer to me. He stuffed it in his jacket last year, and when I loaned it to him, because I had two, so I gave him one because it was cold, and then we both forgot about it until this year when I went out. And I said, "Where's my other hand warmer?" Wait a minute. I still only have one. The other one is somewhere. But yeah, this bag is awesome. It's It's a little too big for my Micro Four Thirds stuff, but it's just right for my Fujifilm XH2 and its lenses. Everything, including the bag, all the lenses and the camera, gas, pure gas. I don't need this crap. I didn't need any of it, but it's all gas, and I got such good deals on everything. I paid like 200 bucks for the 23 f1.4. I paid nothing for the. I think I paid 100 bucks for the 33 1.4. That's like an $800 lens, but because I traded in some other stuff I wasn't using from prior gas purchases, ended up paying like 90 some dollars. The XH2 I bought used, I got 400 bucks off that, but I traded in like two other cameras to get it, so I ended up paying like 280 or 300 bucks for it. So, uh, yeah, all in, I think maybe 1,000 bucks here, with the trade-ins and buying used. Uh, I haven't taken it out, hardly. I took it out once or twice, in combination with my Olympus to kind of do a side-by-side comparison, but I haven't taken it out all by itself, right? Like on its own photo walk. And uh, I've had this almost 2 months now. Maybe, yeah, almost 2 months now. I bought this in early October, I think. Uh, that was What's kinda nice though is I don't feel the need to buy anything else for it. I got the bottom plate, bracket, the full plate for it, and I'm kinda done with it and the lenses that I got. So, because I know what kind of shooting I like to do, and, you know, so obviously I got the 3 primes and the 1 zoom 55 to 200, which is similar to the 40 to 150. If you had to buy all that stuff new and pay full price, man, that'd be a fortune. No way I would have done that, but because of all the deals I got, but this turns out to be this is still a better lens than that 55 to 200, and it's smaller and lighter. This 40 to 150. And when I shot the XH2 with its 40 megapixel APS-C side by side with the Olympus, whether it was my Pen F or the OM1, uh, I really can't see any difference in image quality. Uh, and in terms of autofocus, it's pretty much the same when I do the subject to text stuff. I haven't tested it for like really portrait side by side, but the OM1 is so good with eye detect, face detect. I can't see how that would be much better because I've been doing a lot of portraits lately, and the OM1, I'll fire off, 10 frames per second roughly. That's what I set it to. And they're virtually all in focus. There's always a few out of focus, but they're virtually all in focus. Um, so I don't know. I can't imagine any portrait photographer being unhappy with an OM1 with its face and eye detect. It's really good. Um, Now, the only other lens I thought about getting for that Fuji was maybe a super telephoto, either the Sigma 100 to 400 or the Fuji's own 800 millimeter, something. I forget what the range is, 150 to 600, something like that. But I went out shooting with the OM1 with the 300 millimeter and the teleconverter, and it's so good. I don't want to take out a big honking XH2 uh, if it's not going to do any better, you know, by a significant margin. It may do a tiny bit better. I don't know. It may be a tiny bit worse or a lot worse. I'll never know because I'm not going to buy. Cross my fingers. I'm not going to buy a super telephoto for it because I haven't even shot 10 pictures on any of those lenses. You know, well, maybe the 10 real pictures. I mean, if you can fire off 10 frames per second, so there's literally probably 2,000 shots altogether I've taken, but 1,800 of them are basically the same thing because it's 10 frames per second or 20, whatever it shoots at. So that's my little rant, and all morning I've been shopping, uh, accessories and things for my latest purchase. And this is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my— you ever buy something and then regret it later? Um, this is— I'm embarrassed to even say what I bought. I don't— I let me let that sink in a little bit, that I'm gonna reveal what I bought, because I don't even know why. I don't know why, except that it was such a good deal. It was such a good deal. I could not refuse. Um, but you're not missing out, really. I'll do some testing and stuff. Uh, so that's that. And then what else? So this bag, the Fuji stuff, this lens though, I don't regret at all. I just paid off like my OM1 last month, because I put it on 0% for 2 years or something. So it finally I paid it off. So now that that credit card was kind of clear, I just filled it up again with all this other stuff and something I got yesterday. Um, oh, so um, I upgraded my Sony NEX 6, which you guys— I don't know if you guys know. Sony was the very first camera I ever shot with, interchangeable lens camera I ever bought. So I still have a couple lenses for that, and all the adapters and accessories and all that stuff. But I took it out to Shenandoah last week or the week before, and that thing would not focus uh, in a sunrise setting. I was trying to take a picture of the sunrise of the mountains, and what? Let me see. Oh, nice. That's not the right screen. Yeah, this. Let me see. It was this. It was one of these. It wasn't this. Okay, so remember the 25 millimeter I was telling you about? You see these streaks and flares on the sun? The 25 millimeter f1.8, this is what it does uh, very poorly. But the 25 millimeter 1.4 does not do this, not to this extent. You still get some of this purplish flaring, but you don't get like the smearing of the sun that I get. And yeah, I use a lens hood, so there's that. Uh, but my Sony would not focus anywhere on this horizon. Nowhere. I tried and I tried and I could not get it to focus. So I don't— yeah, I wasn't able to post any images from that Sony of this sunrise. This is the Fujifilm, I think, right? Yeah, this is the Fujifilm, and this one is the Olympus OM1. So yeah, go to my Flickr page and you'll be able to check that out. And I'm trying to make some albums here, like by lens. So this is the 75 to 300. So that's going to take me some time to build this out, but it'll be a nice database for everyone to kind of check out. The pictures aren't spectacular, but it'll give you some idea of what this lens can do at different distances and on different camera bodies. And but I think it's really amazing what this 75 to 300 can do. Anyhow, how do I turn this off? So there's that. Uh, Let me make sure I didn't close the wrong window. So there's that. So that's smearing on the 25 that I was talking about earlier. You'll see it time to time in the images on my Flickr page. It happens quite a lot with bright sun or speculars like street lamps and city lights. But so that Sony would not focus. And then another thing happened. I'm trying to justify the purchase here. Is I got 3 or 4 emails from companies wanting me to review their lenses, but they were all full frame lenses for Sony. So I'm like, well, I could test these lenses on the APS-C Sony that I have now, but it doesn't focus well. It's only 16 megapixels. It's old, right? It wouldn't be a good test. So I said I need to get a full frame Sony so I can test these because they were not. They're going to be nice lenses coming. I'll let you guys know what they are once they get here. I get offers all the time. I say yes, and then good luck if they show up or not. Because I've responded. I said, yeah, I'll review that for you, and then they never send it. But uh, so I was looking at like the Sony A7 II because you can get that for like $1,000 brand new with a lens. Uh, and I was like, okay, that's doable, right? And the lenses I'm getting in return from these companies will offset that price should I decide to sell them afterwards, yada yada. Um, but I'm like, if I get the A7 II, it's so old. It's like a 2015 camera. Uh, you know, that'll be the end of it. That's all I can really do with it is show how to use the lenses, not so much, doing menu settings and tutorials and things like that on it. So I said, okay, let's look at the A6100, right? $600 on sale right now with a lens, which I don't need because I got the lenses already. Uh, I was this close to getting an A6100, but then again, I was like, that's an APS-C. I need to get a full frame. So I looked at some used A7R4s and I found a killer deal on KEH, right? 1,700 bucks all in, taxes, everything, for an excellent condition Sony A7 IV, 61 megapixel full frame, relatively modern Sony. Put it in my shopping cart. Then I checked my local camera store, District Camera. I said, they probably have some. I'll just go buy it from them and try and haggle on the price a little bit. Because, they were priced higher than what KEH was offering. So I went down there and they couldn't match the price, unfortunately, because it was just so good, right? Which is fine. I get it. No hard feelings. I don't have to buy it from them. They don't have to sell it to me, right? It's just business. But I went back to the shopping cart on KEH and they were sold out. Every Sony A7R4, they had like 3 or 4 of them that morning. By the afternoon, they were gone because they were doing 10% off. So they were selling all their A7R4s for like 1,700 bucks, and they were all gone by the time. So uh, let me make sure the stream is still working. I haven't checked the comments yet. District Camera, they do price match most of the time, but they couldn't do it on that one particular item. Um, I almost still bought it from them anyway, because like I said, I like to support the local camera store. But I just can't buy something if I can't get a really super good deal. Minor exceptions here and there, like that camera bag, not a great deal at 130 bucks, but uh, you know, there was a $20 bag on Amazon I should have got instead. But anyhow, I just couldn't do it because I was like, I can get I can get a better deal if I wait a little bit. So I started looking around, and I prepped before I went there. I was looking at the A7R5, which is what I ended up getting, but it was $400 off, so it's down to 34.99, and they had a $500 trade-in bonus of any interchangeable lens camera, film or digital. Yeah. And I got another $100 off for a couple other little things, like $50 to register. They get $50 cash back. I got another like 1 or 2% on my credit card, and I got a trade in. I traded an old film camera that I paid nothing for, zero. I got $50 for that. So I got another couple $100 in savings there. So I got the Sony A7R5 for like 28 something, 2,800 something, brand new warranty, everything. Uh, and then plus tax was like 3,000. This thing, and then I don't know if I talked about this lens that I got for my Sony, but I got this Tamron 35 millimeter f2.8, which is the very sharp lens by every review I saw. I got this for $75. Okay, with tax, I paid about 80. It's normally $250. It's on sale for like $200 right now, but I got it for 75 at a special event. It's a full frame 35 millimeter f2.8, and it is very, very sharp lens. Um, so I'm set. I'm set. So I'm gonna get some new lenses in from these other companies like Seven Artisans and another one, Bright Star. I hope we'll see. I'm still when they come in, I'll make it official and do reviews on those. Uh, well, that's like another $800 worth of lenses plus one more coming. So it's like it kind of offsets what I paid for this in a way. So it ends up this lens. I mean, off the bat, I'm in about $2,000 on this lens, considering the value of the lenses I'll be getting in trade, right? But no reason for a camera like that in my life, other than it was such a good deal. I just couldn't help myself, and it happens all the time. That entire rack of stuff behind me is all like probably probably less than $200. Well, no, that's a lie. But I got a 360 camera that's normally $900. I paid 600 for it. I bought it, used. It just came out like a month later. Somebody was selling it used, so I got it for 600 bucks. Now that I actually use for work, which is really cool. The things I can do with that, a 360 cam is pretty cool. Um, it's so I just got it last night, so I've only taken a few pictures of Ellie with it and did a couple of quick comparisons. And yeah, you can see the pixels, all 60 pixels on this. It's pretty amazing. Because I had a Panasonic S1R, which was the 47 megapixel full frame from Panasonic. And of course, I had the S5, and I got rid of both of those as part of this whole tornado of purchasing and selling I've been doing. The uh, the the Panasonic S1R, I actually missed that camera. It was heavy, so I never took it out. But when I took pictures with that camera, I was just so I just the image quality, the colors, uh, were so good, and the what held it back was it didn't have great autofocus, which I can get around. I'm fine with just single point and shoot, move the focus point to where I want to focus. In that sense, it was 100%, but the animal detect was not great. And that's what I like to do most is take pictures of my dog. If it doesn't do that well, it the camera doesn't stay on my shelf very long. that's the most important thing in my life, other than my family, of course, is my dog. And if it doesn't do that well, the camera doesn't hold any interest for me, really. So yeah, but the S1R, when I keep thinking, I think maybe next year I might have to get it again. Because the other good thing about the Panasonic Leica, the L mount, is they have some very good lenses for affordable pricing. The 50 millimeter f1.8, that lens is amazing and I paid like 300 bucks for it. Um, that lens is amazing. And they have a lot of other terrific lenses in their lineup but when you put it all together, man, it's so heavy. I just don't know. It's I'm gonna have to get it better than I paid like 14 or $1,500 for it when I got it, so it was a really good deal then. But I think if it can come down to about 1,000, I might have to pull the trigger again. Um, 'Cause I missed that camera. It had illuminated buttons. It had a red mode. Had the top plate LCD, and the only regret that I regret getting rid of it now. I wish I had kept it. But I don't know. I mean, I got all my money back for it, so I didn't lose any money on it. But uh, I wish, because now I got extra batteries and I got an XQD card here that doesn't fit in any of my other cameras. The Fujifilm doesn't take the XQD card; it takes the CF Express Bs. So I said, "Oh, okay, I can use that XQD card in it because they're supposed to be compatible. But unless they make a firmware update to make it compatible, it's not gonna work. So hopefully Fuji will do that. Not that there's any point now because I already bought a CF Express B card for it. Uh, but these XQD cards are anyway. That was for my S1R. Oh, yeah, I missed that one. Yeah, Becel, yeah, the S1 and S1R, the ergonomics were terrific, but man, it was a brick. It was so heavy. And then when you put on lenses on it, I was like, I just didn't want to take it anywhere. The OM1, which actually is right over here, I should show you guys. How do I do that? The OM1 is recording my third person view over here. Um, I got a crystal ball now. This is a gift from my sister, my birthday gift. I thought that was really cool. I'm gonna have to do some photography with it someday. Um, but yeah, that's one R. Yeah, you're right. That is that was an amazing camera. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Um, but yeah, I try not to buy things unless you know it has to be like that perfect storm. It has to be something that I remotely need just a little bit or want, combined with like an amazing deal, right? And it's in stock, and I have room left on my credit card. So if those things all come together, I can't help myself. It's like it's just terrible. It's terrible. Um, yeah, Plato, that's pretty much what happened. It's more like I sold off the S1R uh and got the Sony A7R5. Um, but it's this A7R5, I'll have to take some pictures with it and see how I like the images. So far I'm liking the few that I took. They were really pretty amazing. The detail. Noise performance is kind of irrelevant with DxO and all that. I didn't notice any it didn't wow me with the noise performance. I took a few pictures at 800 and 1600, and I'm like, "These aren't clean," you know? Nothing special. I don't know what all the hoo-ha is about full frame noise performance. I mean, I know technically when you look at things, you can measure it, say, okay, it's 2 stops better. No question, full frame is 2 stops better than micro four thirds. But uh, look at this image. Let me show you one. Um, how do I get that screen back? Push this button. Yeah. Let's see. It's my photo stream. All right, this image here. This image is at 5,000 ISO on my Olympus OM1. 5,000 ISO. And this is with DxO, right? Uh, I wonder if I can find, I'm gonna pull it up. Let me go back to my chat window. Um, when this pulls up, you will not believe how clean even ISO 5,000 is on an OM1. It's amazing. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this image here, let me just reset it. Oh, really? All right. This one. That's with no processing at all to it. This is the straight out of camera raw image, you know? And and then let me click on this. This is the processed image. This is the straight out of camera. I mean, yeah, if you what am I at? I'm at like 500%. Yeah, you can see noise, right? But when you back it off to how I frame the entire image and just look at it normal, even this image is perfectly fine. I bet that I didn't shoot JPEG, but if you saw the JPEG straight out of camera, it would have cleaned up all that chroma noise, and this would be an amazing image just straight out of camera. But let me punch into 500%. Okay, so I'm at 550%, and then if I click, let me move this over. Well, that's probably too close, but look at the difference. You just apply a little noise reduction, and it's freaking amazing. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Full frame is going to be 2 stops better, but I mean, what kind of ISOs do you need to shoot at before it really becomes a problem? You know, um, 12,000, 25,000. I've shot things at 25,000 that look terrific. So I get, some people, they don't like even one speck of noise in their images. It's going to bother them. It doesn't bother me if there's a little bit of noise, a little bit of loss of detail. But I have to be shooting at like ISO 25,000 before I start to think that, yeah, maybe I need a faster lens or need to shoot at lower ISO for whatever, right? Um, but you know, I I just don't have a problem with the noise on the Micro Four Thirds sensor up to 6400. No problem at all for my birds in flight, for just about everything. Because I typically hit like, 3 to 6,000 ISO on my bird in flight pictures because you're at such high shutter speeds. But a lot of times I'm at base ISO or ISO 400 when the light gets good. It's just in the early morning that the ISOs kind of jump a little. And so, I can go out and people are so envious. You would not believe how many Olympus shooters are out there when I go out in the field for wildlife. There's a lot of Olympus shooters, not as many as like the Canon, Sony, Nikon guys, right? But it's not like, you know, I'm the only one there. There's usually me and 5 or 6 other people in any crowd. I would say a good minimum 10 to 20% of the people that I run into in the field are Olympus shooters because of the wildlife. And they're just amazed at the kit, how small and light it is, the kind of reach that I have, and then the kind of image quality that I get out of my images if they bother to go back and look at my Flickr page, right? Um, and with the bird detect and tracking that the OM1 has, yeah, sometimes it's out of focus, but for the most part, I get the images I want. If I'm tracking the bird by eye and then fire the button right when I need to, that thing never fails me. I'm tracking kingfishers now. It's like I waited 10 years to get a kingfisher in flight. Now that I know where one is and I've practiced, I'm pretty good at getting kingfishers in flight now. I still need a little more work. They're not perfect. Either the lighting's not perfect, it's like backlit, so I'm not getting good images anyway, or it's just too dark, right? Uh, and the bird's so small and they're far away that uh, I still struggle a bit to get a really good. I want to get the kingfisher just as points its nose right into the water. You know, um, I'll show you a couple like this. This I got the other day. I mean, that's not bad. Um, there's another one. It was flying towards me, and there's him on a stick. And I wanted to show you one. This one is pretty impressive. Oh, here's a couple more, right? I mean, I'm nailing it now. This image here I like because this was a handheld high-res shot. And what are we at? I'm at ISO 320. So it's virtually, base ISO. This image came out really good. You can see really the fine details in the feather because while he was sitting up there, he didn't move. So I said, oh, this is an opportunity to get a high-res shot. So check that out. This is a really great picture because it's a handheld high-res shot mode. I should make a note. Let me see what the resolution is. Yeah. And this is downsized to 4 megapixels. Okay, I just need to make a note there. And that's with the 300 millimeter f4 with the MC teleconverter. Um, but yeah, so I'm getting pretty good at following the kingfisher and catching them in flight. 10 years before I got my first one ever of a kingfisher in flight, and now it's like every time I go out, I can get one. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Anyhow, let me stop jibber jabbering here and look at the comments because I've kind of unloaded a lot here for the last hour. Well, not quite, but where's my chat window? Oh my goodness, Walter's here. Hey, Walter, good to see you. Uh, this is yeah, this is it's not just this lens, but it's just a lot of lenses in the Micro Four lineup are so good. They are squeezing every pixel out of that sensor that it just out resolves, you know, higher resolution cameras with lesser lenses. Because you can get a higher resolution camera, but if the lens doesn't resolve it, you know what, it's just wasted, right? The high resolution is wasted. The Fuji's got a couple of problems. I'm a little disappointed with the resolution out of that. Um, I'll see if I can pull up an example. With my computer. While I'm scanning, I like the 4150. Um, where are the pictures? I'm gonna show you some picture comparisons while I'm scanning the chat. Uh, okay, here they are. Where's the button? Okay. All right, so here's four images of Ellie. I don't know if you guys can read the fine print up here with the EXIF data, but right here I have the OM1 with the 25 millimeter f1.4. This is the OM1 with the 25 millimeter f1.8. This is the Fujifilm with the 33 1.4. And then over here, I have the Sony A7R5 with the 35 millimeter f2.8. But I shot this at f4 because the f2.8 image, there was image blur in it, so I couldn't use that to compare. And the wider field of view, it's not quite as, uh, I'm losing resolution because of the wider field of view, so to speak. But let me zoom in. So I'm at 500% here, and then I'm going to line these up. Where is she down here? All right, so 500%, right? Look at the 25 1.4 versus the 25 1.8. And I don't think it back focused or anything. I think it's just sharper. I mean, I'll have to do some more testing, but right now the 25 1.4 is so freaking sharp, sharper than the 1.8 on in this image. And then look at the Fuji with the 33, and these lenses are all wide open with the exception of the Sony here. Uh, this this is not as sharp as these two. I'd say this and this are about the same. The 25 1.8 and the 33 1.4 are roughly about the same in terms of sharpness. And even if I go down to the nose, you know, I just don't really see that much more detail. Not 40 megapixels worth. Now I get it. I probably have to stop the lens down a little bit to like 2.8 or even f2 I think would sharpen this up quite a bit. And then maybe I'll start to see the 40 megapixels. But look at this cheap $75 lens I got on the Sony A7R5. I mean that's not even good light. That was this morning I took this picture. I can see every little hair and eyelash in her eyes sharp, clear. I can count them. Uh, and if you look in our reflection here, you can see the window. You can almost make out, you can see my neighbor's house is here, yada, yada. You can see the clouds in the sky. You know, Whereas, there's just 20 megapixels is not enough, but certainly 40 megapixels should have been able to do that, and I'm not seeing it. This is at 1000%, so we're at 10x zoom here. And the only thing holding the Olympus camera back is this 20 megapixels. It's not the lens. I think this lens, God knows if I stop that lens down to f2 or 2.8, how much sharper that image might be. Maybe a little bit on across the board. Uh, but it's shocking. So let me zoom all the way out so you get a feel for. And Sony, the field of view is wider than these other three lenses, and it's still out resolving, you know, every other camera. Now, when you look at these at like normal viewing, like right now, unless I tell you which camera and lens combo this is, it would be hard to guess, right? I can't even guess looking at this, but I'm gonna guess. If I had to guess, this is the 25 1.4. Let me see. This is the Fuji X-H2. This was the least sharp of the three. Uh, let's see what this is. This is the OM1 with the 1.4. But I think you guys get it, right? It so and this has been consistent with the Fuji on all the images. Is I'm not seeing really any more resolution or details than I am with my Olympus OM1, which has half the megapixels. And I got the halo lens, the 33 1.4 RLM whatever XF, like it's got this long nomenclature to it. I got the halo lens for it, which everyone said is the best lens ever made, for that camera, as far as I know. Maybe there's another one, but it ain't no slouch. It should be able to handle the 40 megapixels. So I'm gonna have to try some testing with it stopped down and see if I can get it to at least look like it's out resolving my Olympus cameras. But as of right now, and that's why I haven't really taken it out because it's like it's bigger, heavier camera, and it's not giving me any better image quality for the kind of things I'm shooting. I like a lot of things about the camera. I love the top plate. I talked about this in my review. I love a lot of things about the camera, but when it comes down to, which camera am I going to pick up and go out with, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be my Olympus Pen F if it's just everyday stuff, or if I'm going to go birding, the Olympus OM1. So I can't think of any scenario where I really want to take the XH2 out. Um, but it's still early. I've only had it like a month or two, and I got so many other cameras to pick from. That's why it's been kind of sitting there. Uh, but I will take it out. I'll do a vlog or something, when I take it out. But it's not wowing me with its 40 megapixels. That system there that I have was an upgrade from my Fujifilm X-T30 that sat in the dry cabinet behind me for 3 years. It had like 2,000 clicks on it or something. And most of that was just testing stuff, right? And then I never took it out. And that was a pretty small compact camera, especially with the 35 f2. It was actually a little smaller than the Pen F, but I didn't like the camera, as you guys know. Um, well, what I'm going to do with those images, once I get 4 images where I have a little bit more continuity between the settings and the lighting and the subject, I'll do the side by side comparison and post those on my Flickr page. Uh, because I have a folder in my Flickr called well, this is specifically for the XH2. But I have a folder where I do comparisons and things, where I put things side by side, uh, where things were a lot more controlled, right? This is a fair test here. This is the OM1 with the 40 to 150 kit lens, and this is the XH2 with its equivalent kind of kit lens, 55 to 200. And when you punch in, I mean, seriously, I think the Fuji in this case did resolve a little more detail. The hair is a little bit finer. So here I'm seeing a little bit more, but not by much. It's not like night and day. And of course, the depth of field is shallower on the XH2, which, but in an image like this, it doesn't really matter. Uh, the depth of field is shallow enough at f5.3 on the Olympus. So so check that out if you guys are curious. I mean, if you're gasaholics and pixel peepers like I am, you'll like those kind of things. I like making them, and I like testing them and trying to justify everything I buy. Uh, Maybe it'll justify your purchases. I don't know. We all need to justify the reason for buying stuff because honestly, the Sony NEX6 that I bought in 2013, I could probably still use that camera and do like 80% of what I shoot. There's 20% there that would be hard, like birds in flight, uh, night photography, like street, when I go out in the street at night, or even my professional work. That would be a hard camera to use because the autofocus is just really weak on it. But 80% of everything else, pictures of my dog, pictures, normal street photography in the daytime, uh, photo walks in the park, day-to-day stuff. That Sony NEX with the 16 to 50 kit lens, I probably could have shot with that for the last 10 years for 80% of my stuff. Uh, and when I think about it, I'm like, why do I have all the different cameras I bought? Because I was shooting Nikon for a while, which was awesome. I was so, oh my God, I wanted the Z8. I wanted the Z8 so bad. And the Canon R5. Because the Canon R5 right now is 900 bucks off. Effectively this 3,000 bucks, a little bit, just a hair more than I would have paid for the A7 R5. And it's a better camera, I think, in every way than the A7 R5. Uh, but the difference is there's not really much third-party selection, if any, for it. And to get the good lenses for that Canon system, they're really, really expensive. And that is the same problem that Nikon has for me is they have great lenses, but they're really freaking expensive. And the third-party choices are rather limited as well. Fortunately, Tamron's starting to come out with some, but Tamron right now doesn't have like a 50 millimeter prime, right? They got the 35, but not in Z mount. So, when I looked at the Z8, and I don't have any lenses for the Z, unlike the Fuji and the Sonys and the Panasonics that I've bought in the past, I have lenses for those already. So it's not like I had to start from scratch, right? I already have several lenses for those systems. But the Nikon and the Canon, I got zilch. So I'd have to look at buying lenses from scratch on those systems. And the lack of third party good lenses for the Nikon and specifically Canon, and the price of their good lenses to resolve their 45, 47 megapixel sensors, that was just a much bigger barrier than I was willing to do. Uh, that was just way too much. With the Sony, I'm looking at like the Tamron 28 to 70 f2.8 G2 version, which is supposedly as good as the GM Mark II from Sony itself, and that's on sale now for like 799. So I gotta get a bag of lenses and go trade them in and try and get that lens for a good deal because it's $100 off now. But you know me, I'm gonna try and and knock it down even more. Um, let's see what else we got in the chat. Serge is here. Good to see you. Vic, the R100. I think that's going for like $500. Believe me, I looked at that for about a week. I was looking at the R100, the R8, the R7, the R10, and I had it down to getting the R8 because right now I can get that for 11.99, and I've seen it open box for less than that, like $1,000 for a full frame Canon R. But and then what I would do is get the kit lenses for it. I would get the 24 to 105 kit. It's 399, and the 50 millimeter f1.8. Because on a 24 megapixel full frame sensor, those kit lenses will be more than resolve what that camera can do. It'll resolve the 24 megapixels on a full frame sensor. And that's a very compact, lightweight, everyday camera, right? The R8. Uh, the R100 tempted me into, and this was the deal breaker for me on the R100, was that it was using the older Canon autofocus system in the previous generation. The R10, the R50, the R7, they all use the new Digic 10 with the, million focus points and, the subject detect and all that. Yeah, they cost twice as much, but you're getting the new generation still at a reasonable price. Uh, but for the R100, what you might want to get, I think, is they look at the man. Canon doesn't have a lot of good third party stuff. I think Yongnuo might have one or two lenses for it. Uh, but that's a APS-C 24 megapixel sensor, I think, and the pixel pitch is pretty fine on it. So you do need to get the better lenses for it. Otherwise, it's going to suffer a little bit. Uh, if you want to resolve all the pixels, that is. If that doesn't matter, then the kit lenses are probably fine. Um, oh, Kathy, you got both, right? So you started with an R5 and went to the OM1. Yeah, I did get a great deal. Oh my God, it's so good. Uh, and then when I get the lenses in from these companies, so everybody just start a YouTube channel and review lenses, and then you can build up your lens collection. But then you'll start to justify buying other camera bodies, right? Because you're thinking, oh, I can get these lenses. Oh, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to take this thing out. Um, man, this is starting to feel heavy again. And this is not a heavy lens, right? This is like 200 grams, this lens, but the body is 700 and something. And I ordered some UHS-2 cards to put in here. Well, actually, not to put in here. I have some UHS V90 cards, uh, and I have a CF Express A card in my shopping cart right now that I'm debating to pull the trigger on or not. Because really, you only need the CF Express A card if you want to do that 8K video, or you need to clear the buffer fast when you're doing sports action type stuff. And I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So I don't think I would see any reason to get a CF Express A card if I'm not going to do sports action and I'm not going to be doing 8K video. Uh, the UHS-2 V90 card will be fine, and I'm going to put the V60 cards in my OM1. Um, because Black Friday, right? Got some good deals on memory cards. Uh, let's see. See, Walter came in and Yeah, this is so true, right? This is why I stay out of trouble. I don't leave my house except to go do photography, and, yeah, I don't do any of these other things, and I'm not married and no kids, and everything is paid for. House, car, everything is paid for except my camera gear. That's all on my credit card. So not being married, I don't have to justify my purchase or right, Walter? You know what I'm talking about, right? And David, and because we've talked about buying gear, and it's like, oh, I have to check with my significant other on this one. They won't let me do it unless I do this or do that, right? Oh, okay. Let's see. Gray Vanzini. I don't shoot Canon yet. Yet. I say yet, like it's gonna happen one day. I might. I had a Canon M50 for a while, but I traded that to get the Fuji. I traded the M50 and the Fuji X-T30 to get the M50 or to get the Fuji. I traded the M50 and the anyway. But yeah, one day I'll shoot Canon, maybe sooner than later. I really can't write off any more stuff. I can't even write off some of the stuff I bought for tax purposes, but um, if I buy anything else, I'm gonna lose more money than I made all year. I don't make that much money, honestly. And I pay everything on 0% interest over years. This is gonna take me another couple of years to pay for all this gas. Uh, Adam Favre, good to see you. Good morning. And doesn't downsampling also help? When you're looking at, so on the images we were looking at before, I tried to scale them to 100% so that there's no downsampling. But that said, when I look at them on my computer screen and compare them to the Flickr page, and this is why I like Flickr, I didn't see any difference, no material difference in the quality from directly on my screen versus what I see on Flickr. So I don't think there's any noise reduction happening uh, because I'm uploading the Flickr. Now, what you're seeing in the stream live, definitely there's probably some compression and all of that affecting the kind of quality. So that's why you need to go to my Flickr page and look at them for yourself. And you're seeing virtually exactly what I see on my screen at home. And my webcam, oh, thanks. Well, I'm using, of course, the EM10 Mark II with the 17 millimeter f1.8 as my primary webcam, and uh, and then I have the whatchamacallit. This is the OM1 with the 7 to 14 Panasonic. Oh, I need to comb my hair. Uh, but yeah, so I have this. Man, that OM1 is such a great camera. Um, I was tempted to get an OM5 because that's on sale now, right, for 999. But I have an EM5 Mark III, which is working fine. Oh, I gotta show you my setup for doing my self portraits. That is, I'm pretty proud of that setup. Um, let's see. Oh my God, that's so true, right? Um, I need to shoot some film. I got to roll in my Hasselblad. That was another gas purchase. I don't know if you guys ever seen this. For some of you, may have seen this already. And Walter knows all about this. This was a gas purchase. This Hassie, the Blad. Um, I got a reasonable deal on this, 1,200 bucks, and it's pretty much, I would say, excellent condition, not mint, obviously, because it's 50 years old. But the only problem I found with it after, and they're very minor, was the slow shutter speeds, like under tenth of a second or something, are sluggish. The shutter is very sluggish, and there's a little bit of a light leak here somewhere. Not all the time, but if I'm holding the camera a certain way, a little light gets in here. So I need to buy like some new seals that are like $10 on eBay. And then the slow shutter, I'm not worried about. It only affects the very slow shutter speeds, which I'm not going to do anyway. So I'm usually at like 1/500th, 1/250th. And at those shutter speeds, this is perfectly fine. But basically what happened is the grease that they use in the gears here, just after 50 years, uh, gets sluggish, gets gooey or thick, right? So that's why the slower shutter speeds are sluggish because the grease inside is sluggish. Um, but this is a gas purchase I don't regret at all. Whoops, I almost opened that with film in it. Oh, the plate's in here. Uh, this I love. I love this camera. Oh my God. This makes me happy. If you can buy something and a year later still look at it and smile, you made a good purchase, right? You can't put a price on this smile. Um, and Thomas, good to see you. Glad you could make it. I think I saw a question on a TG7. I'll get to that in just a minute if I can find it here in the chat. I scrolled past it. Um, yeah, yeah. I had the XT30, but just would rather take the Pen F out, right? So you know what I'm talking about. And so Kostov is here. Good to see you. I'm glad you could come in. And Walter says, do you think DxO versus some other editor influences the outcome of these comparisons? Definitely. Okay, and I'll tell you in what way that I think it affects. Because I compared Fujifilm with the Fujifilm files, and I'm talking about Fujifilm, okay? Specifically, it because it affects it more. That X-Trans sensor, Lightroom still hasn't nailed it yet. It still struggles to uh, demosaic the X-Trans sensor and resolve the detail in a very pleasing way. That worminess that people talk about, I do see it in Lightroom. Even when I do the enhanced processing with it, it's much better with the enhanced processing, but it's still not as good as the free Capture One Lite that you can get when you buy Fujifilm, which is a really great benefit. You get Capture One photo editor. It's the basic version, but it has everything you need to process your Fujifilm camera. It also resolves or does the film simulations accurately as the Fuji would do in camera. Capture One is probably the best Fujifilm demosaicing file processor, but I've compared it with DxO. DxO, I would say 99% of the time, resolve the Fujifilm files as good as the Capture One, equally as good. I wouldn't say better or worse, but I would say they were equal in resolving or demosaicing the Fujifilm files. There was one or two instances that I saw the DxO or Capture One, and it was kind of back and forth. Sometimes Fuji, the DxO did a better job on the Fuji, and sometimes the Capture One. So there's a certain scenario that I haven't taken enough pictures to figure out what scenarios would cause one software to do better than the other. But there's some scenario or combination where Capture One didn't do as well, and vice versa. DxO didn't do as well on the Fujifilm. So specifically for Fujifilm, uh, definitely DxO, Capture One, Lightroom, and anything else that people might use. I haven't tried others with Fujifilm. That's going to influence the outcome of the image and the resolution that you see. Now, generally speaking, across normal Bayer type sensors, uh, DxO, I think, does the very best job at resolving the detail that that camera lens combination is capable of. As it applies to my Fujifilm and my Olympus cameras, it does the best. It also does the very best job at denoising, in my opinion. I use the Photolab 7 Elite where you can adjust the sliders and stuff. So I've set it and I've tweaked everything to get it exactly the way I want it. And it's definitely doing by a healthy margin better than Lightroom. Now, if you're happy with Lightroom or Capture One, there's no reason really to switch to DxO. Uh, but the reason a lot of people switch to DxO is because they don't like the monthly thing with Adobe. And that's a legitimate reason, right? Because I would say you can safely go 2 years with DxO before you have to pay the upgrade price. And if you wait for the Black Friday sale, it's like 70 or $80 to upgrade it. So you're still paying kind of, you know, annually for your software, but it's like $40 a year with DxO versus 120 or more with Adobe. Um, Effectively speaking, if you're getting upgrades, if you're happy with the processing, you never have to upgrade. And the nice thing about DxO is I've noticed they still update uh, the older versions with new cameras. So unlike Adobe, when they were doing the annual thing, like version 3, 4, 5, 6, and their Photoshop Lite, I forget what it's called, Elements. If you buy a new camera, it may not be supported by your version of Adobe. Um, so that's another kind of benefit with DxO right now, for now anyway. So yeah, I think definitely the software that you use to do this kind of pixel peeping and noise comparisons has a significant impact on the results, depending who you are. If you're very particular about noise and detail, significant. If you're not not a pixel peeper and not that picky, right, about the noise and stuff, I think all the software does a good job that have the new AI type noise reduction. Topaz is really amazing. I really like Topaz Sharpen. I think that Topaz Sharpen is amazing software. I still have my copy. I have an old version. It's the update path is expired, so I have to actually pay to upgrade. Because they give you 1 year of free updates, but now I've gone beyond that 1 year. But I'm still happy with the version that I have. It still does a terrific job, and my version's 2 years old, so I haven't had a need to upgrade. And that was a one-time purchase, right? Well, not for me in this case. They gave me a copy to review, but that copy is still valid. I just can't update it. If I want to update it, I have to pay. I'm sure if I called them or emailed them, they'd send me a version. They have what? Photo AI, Video AI, Topaz Denoise, Gigapixel, Topaz Sharpen. They've updated all these things over the last couple of years, and I'm sure it's better than the version I have. But what I have, I'm very, very happy with. I can't imagine getting any better quality if I upgrade. Uh, and because Topaz can use any file format, I don't have to worry about my camera not being supported because I just convert it to TIFF and bada bing, it's going to work in Topaz. Unlike DxO, fortunately, they're still updating even their old software, and so you don't have to buy the new version. But uh, but it only works on raw images. They have denoising for non-raw images, but that's mediocre at best. The AI denoising Deep Prime XD only works on raw. So if at some point in the future I have to upgrade to support a new camera, then Uh, there's that. But for now, I haven't had to worry about it. Same thing with Topaz. Uh, but I just don't. Luminar's reached out to me so many times. They want me to review their software. I did download like the 30-day free trial, and I gave it a shot. Not that it didn't produce great results and all that, uh, but I just didn't care for the workflow. They've kind of reimagined how to do photo editing, and I think it's great for people that are uh, more creative types than I am. I'm not that creative. If you're a more creative type, they have a lot of presets and filters and things that help you get started and take you down that path. And the kind of workflow is also a little bit more intuitive for creative types. Um, you can do everything you can like you would in Lightroom, but you can work with Luminar in a very different way that I think would, if your brain is wired that way, you might like Luminar better, but I'm not. So I'm not doing that. I'm not getting free Luminar or whatever it is just because I can get it free and then not use it, right? Same thing with Topaz. Topaz, I'm very happy with the version they sent me because I downloaded the free trial from Topaz a few years ago, and I compared it to DxO, and I ended up actually buying DxO with my own money and not buying Topaz because of the results, right? And Topaz reached out to me and said, can you send me the images that you did in that video review? And then they sent me a license. Here's a free license if you want it, just if you want. I said, okay, I didn't ask for it. They just gave me a license. Uh, so if they're just going to give it to me without even asking, I'll take it. But I haven't bothered to upgrade it since, and I haven't done any reviews or comparisons on it since because I don't have the latest version. Because I don't see the point. I'm so happy with DxO, uh, and the results it gives me. And time to time, I downloaded the free trial to ACDC, and I downloaded a free trial to Luminar, uh, and I have Capture One for my Fuji. Um, After all said and done, DxO and I is giving me the best results in terms of detail and sharpness, and noise reduction. Uh, the workflow is not to everyone's taste, right? People are different, but I found it gave me the best results. Now I'm still forced to use the Adobe products because of the Photoshop, the layering, and all of the tools that Photoshop has. My God, Photoshop is just loaded with stuff, and I have to use a lot of that stuff. But 99% of the time, I will process the optical corrections, lens sharpness, and noise reduction, create a TIFF file. It's huge, it's like 100 megapixels. That's kind of a downside, but I'll do all that before I put it into Photoshop. Uh, I want that clean image. When I do my paid work for my personal stuff, 99 times out of 100, I use DxO exclusively for all my birds in flight, all my photo walks, my landscapes, everything I do in DxO because I found it for me is it works, gives me the best results. It has a workflow that makes sense to me so I can use it and learn how to use it. Uh, and because it doesn't have everything. It doesn't have panorama. It doesn't have HDR. Uh, it doesn't have, it has a lot of things that you kind of take for granted in other software, and you think be a simple thing to add. So hopefully version 8 has it because version 7 didn't do anything except change the workflow a little bit. Uh, so if you have version 6 now, I would say the upgrade deal is like $69. I don't know what the upgrade deal is. I didn't look. But the upgrade deal if you really like the new workflow that Photolab 7 offers, I think it's worth it to get it. Uh, and if you have to match colors precisely, because now you can use those, you can calibrate the colors with the new DxO. If those things are important, particularly the color calibration, then yeah, definitely upgrade. But if you don't care about, if the workflow is fine for you as it is in Photolab 6, and uh, you don't have to color calibrate 100% your images, you're not doing product photography, for example, I don't see a reason to get Photolab 7 or upgrade to it if you have Photolab 6. Now, if you have Photolab 5, definitely upgrade. Oh, David Crooks said he just upgraded for 80 bucks. If you have Photolab and use my affiliate links, David, anyway, no, it's too late now, but everybody use my affiliate links, please, please, please support my gas, please. Oh, not just my gas, but I try to do my best and be honest and give you my genuine opinion. And I work hard to make sure what I say is uh, helpful. You know what I mean? Because I could do a camera review, in 10 minutes. Because right now I have the vernacular, the vocabulary, the breadth of knowledge of all the different things. Right? I could do a camera review in 10 minutes, but I've hardly shot with it. So what? How helpful is it for me to just kind of reiterate some specs and state the obvious? Captain Obvious. It's like the A7R5, okay, has high resolution, so you're going to see more detail. Has better noise performance by almost two stops over the OM1. Has magnesium alloy body on the top with weather sealing, but it's probably not as going to be as good as the OM1, right? And and of course the lens selection is very well flushed out on both systems. Now, the OM1, the ergonomics I think are better than the Sony. I don't like some of the things. I could go on for 10 minutes, right, about the difference between the OM1 and the Sony A7R5. But, how useful is that really? And that's what frustrates me about all these camera reviews online. It's like you can't watch one and make a decision. You have to watch like 20 of them, put all that together and come to some kind of consensus of what makes sense for you and the things that are important to you and what are deal breakers and what are not. Uh, there's no single one review. So for me to come out and do another 10-minute review on every camera I buy or lens, it just would be a waste of your time, right? Your 10 minutes, I think. So that's why you don't see too many reviews on my channel unless somebody sends me something and then I'm pretty much obligated to review it. And I only pick the things that I think are going to be decent. So that's why all the reviews that I do are generally positive. I don't think I've done really a negative review because I'd like the products that they send me because I those are the ones I picked. Because trust me, I get a lot of offers now. I don't know why they're kind of coming in a lot now. But for LED lights, for lenses, all these accessories, a lot of junk that I might review a light. There's this little light, 20 watt. I think it'd be kind of neat. Um, but there's a lot of lights like this size that I said, screw it. I'm not. What am I gonna gimbals? Oh my God, so many gimbals. If you guys, I've personally bought like 3 gimbals, and I have 4 total because one was a gift uh, from my nephew. They're awesome, but uh, you don't see any gimbal reviews on my channel, even though I could, right? Um, I could certainly do gimbal reviews of the ones that they send me, but it's like, oh my God, it's like, okay, they send me a gimbal, and then it's going to take me so much time to build a decent review for it, and I don't know if you guys want me to do gimbal reviews, let me know, but I don't think my audience is really that interested in video, right? Like when I did my XH2 review, I didn't talk that much about video. I said, if you want a good video review, go somewhere else, right? And same thing with this Sony, it's like it's you know, I don't see what's wrong with the video on this in terms of specs. Everybody complains that this is not a video camera. Like if you watch Jordan, on Petapixel or DP Review, whenever he did the review on this, uh, he was not a fan, right? And the same thing for a lot of other review channels, and that's because of the rolling shutter. But come on, how often are you like panning like this to get rolling shutter? Now, I'll give it to him that when you're shooting an 8K and you're just kind of walking and panning like this, you still get some rolling shutter. That would be a problem. But who the heck shoots an 8K? I mean, why? Why? And don't get me on a rant, right? So, uh, I'm curious to see how the video is. I'll do some tests on it. I'm curious if the audio this has the fancy pants focus in it, I guess. Stuff I'll never use, but uh believe it or not, Tony and Chelsea did a really good job reviewing that camera. Um, I've only started watching them again because they're starting to talk about Micro Four Thirds again. So let me tell you something. Any channel that talks about Olympus, OM Systems, Panasonic, Micro Four Thirds, watch their video. Just watch it, even if you only watch one of their videos. Okay, and never watch another one because you don't like them, right? I get it. I can't watch a lot of channels. I just don't connect with whoever's talking sometimes. But watch at least one because the more views that Micro Four Third channels get, the more attention Micro Four Thirds community is going to get in general. And I think it's only good for Micro Four Thirds for us to support both socially by watching their video and subscribing and liking and all of that. Just hit a like button on their video. Uh, because if nothing else, they're talking about Micro Four Thirds, right? If they're not doing it, if you could hate everything they said and how they look and how they talk and what they talked about, you could hate everything and think it was a sucky video. Just hit the like button because they were talking about Micro Four Thirds. You gotta like that at the very least because like I said, I want Micro Four Thirds to survive. I don't like all the negativity that surrounds it every time this issue comes up. Will it survive? Do they need to do this? How are they going to do that? You know, I get it. I get it. I worry too a little bit, right? Like, where are we going to be 5 years from now with Micro Four Thirds? Am I going to still be shooting with an OM1 with no firmware updates? Because that's where I'm at now. In 5 years, maybe. Uh, but or will I have the OM5 Mark IV or Mark V? In 5 years. You know what I mean? I want to be shooting the OM1 Mark III in a couple of years. Okay, I don't want to be shooting the OM1 Mark I in 3 years. Right? Um, I'll be happy to do it, but I'd be much happier if they had a Mark III out. If they had an OM5 Mark III in a couple of years, that would be freaking awesome. Uh, anyway, that's my plug for Micro Four Thirds system because it's such a good system and the lenses are so good on them. They squeeze every pixel out of those sensors and they're fabulous. They're fabulous lineup, and then it's so light and compact and lightweight and allows you to do so many things uh, in photography with just what it has now, the live comp, live ND, handheld high res shot mode, focus stacking in camera, all these things. They were the first, more or less. I mean, don't quote me on that, but they were early on with these things, if not the innovators. The pro capture, you can do so many things with one camera that you can't do in any other camera. Finally, A7R5, finally, they have focus stacking built in. Can you believe it that the Mark IV does not? You know, now they have focus stacking in it. I don't know what else it has. Uh, it has a lot of things I don't like about it already. The bottom of this is all plastic. I was like, what? I can tell because, when you put it up to your skin, it's like it's not cold, whereas top is ice cold, but this is you can hear it. I mean, come on. Who hasn't broken their tripod mount already? And people bitch about the EM5 Mark III tripod mount breaking, you know. How is this gonna be any better? It's still plastic under here. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's a nice subframe in here keeping it stiff, but I bought a full metal plate that's gonna come in next week, maybe tomorrow, if it doesn't get ripped off by porch pirates, uh, coming in for this. So, um, yeah, Micro Four Thirds is the most versatile, most compact, and affordable, for God's sake. I mean, you can spend $200-300 on every lens and get a really good lens for in the $200-300 range, brand new or used, okay? Under $1,000, you can get fabulous lenses used. It's when you start buying brand new their lenses, it gets kind of up there, and you kind of question your choices in life, right? But uh, for the most part, I can buy 25 f1.8 for about 250 used, maybe 300 new on sale, on a good sale. I think this is 300 bucks right now. And this is a fabulous lens. This 25 1.4, oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. And I paid $259 used, mint condition in the box. It like still had the plastic on it. But anyway, so uh for me, it's Micro Four Thirds for life, even if the format dies, okay? Which I hope it doesn't. But even if it dies, I'm gonna be shooting Micro Four Thirds until I can't buy another one used again. Okay, I'm sorry. I really wanna yeah, see, Walter knows what I'm talking about, right? 85 1.2. I think you can get the 1.8. Why do you need 1.2, you know? But yeah, they're expensive. Even the 1.8 is really high. It's just crazy. Hi, Darko. Good morning. Um, Boy, I'm about a half hour behind. I'm gonna skip down to this one question I saw. Oh, I can't find it. They should have a search feature. I don't know how Robin does it. You've seen his live streams, I'm sure. He answers virtually every single question. I don't know how he can do it and not miss something like I do all the time. Yeah, Robin is so good at live streaming, which is awesome. You can get your live streaming fix from Robin's channel. You don't have to come to mine or Jimmy Chang. They're so much better at this than I am, especially when it comes to finding things in the chat. Uh, I know somebody asked me about a TG7. I'm gonna have to go off what I think he was asking or she. Uh, but I hate to do that. I want to read the question in full. You know what? If you're still here, can you ask the question again about the TG7? I can't remember what it was. I think it was something about, should I get a TG7? I would say just get a TG5. Pretty much the same thing. Um, and save a couple $100. If that was the question, whether or not to get it, but I'm not sure what it was. But please ask it again. I'm sorry. And if anyone else has any questions, just start asking them now. I'll try and pay attention to the chat from here on out a little bit more closely because I just kind of rambled on for a couple hours. Um, Let me go back up here to somewhere around 11 a.m., I think is where I was. Yeah, Tenba makes good stuff. I don't know about the Fulton 2, but I'm not a backpack person, but I have a Tenba backpack, which is awesome, but I never use it. Um, that was a gas purchase, that backpack, because I got it to hold my Nikon D750, my Tamron 150 to 600, my 85 1.8, my Sigma at 51.4, Sigma 24 to 105. You know those big ass heavy lenses from Sigma, and the Tamron. That backpack held it all, and it didn't dig into my shoulders. It had really good padding on the shoulders. It was the only bag. I tried them all, and I could carry all that stuff in my backpack and go. And then um, I discovered Micro Four Thirds, and then I got this backpack. You know, well, I discovered Sony NEX, I should say. This was the bag I got from my Sony 10 years ago, and my A7R5 fits in here somehow. But I only got one lens for it. If I want to pack 3 or 4 lenses, it ain't gonna happen. Uh, but Micro Four Thirds, that changed my life in every way. You know, not just in terms of photographically, but professionally. Now I shoot all Micro Four Thirds, and Darko went to Z5 instead of R8. Yeah, um, yeah. If you're gonna stay Nikon or Canon, and either one is great because I'd say the Z5 is a slightly better choice than the Z8 in terms of lens selection. But I think the R8 has better autofocus than the Z5, but that may not be a big deal, right? Because you just kind of just use a single point, and every camera can single point and shoot, right? Even my old XZ2 will do that well. Uh, but I think if you were going to do any kind of subject detect and animal detect, the R8 would have been a better choice there. Here it is, Thomas Peters. I'm sorry. Any opinion on the TG7 as tempted for a versatile walk around? Okay, so if you want to get brand new, TG7 is fine, uh, but I don't see any reason to get that if you can get a TG5 at a steep discount, either as a refurb, maybe even brand new at a bigger discount. But as a walk around camera, when I bought mine, the TG5, I was looking at can't even remember now. I was looking at some other compact cameras, and I decided to get the TG5 out of all of them. Uh, it would help if I could remember what were the other cameras I was considering. But I'll tell you why I got the TG5 is because I was already familiar with the Olympus menu system, and the TG5 and the TG7 in this case has a very similar menu structure. And I'm like a surgeon when it comes to that menu. I know how to get to every setting pretty quickly. And that's what made the camera, that's what really ultimately won. The reason I chose it was because of uh, the menu system I was familiar with. In terms of image quality and the zoom lens and all of that other stuff, um, I know Olympus is going to make a competent camera, meaning it's going to do everything I want it to do with the things that they give it. So if they gave it a 25 to 100 millimeter equivalent lens and a 12 megapixel sensor, it's going to perform exactly like I expect. It's not going to be um, disappointing in that sense. Whereas my Fuji X-H2, and just to give you an analogy, I got a 40 megapixel sensor. I'm a little disappointed that I'm not seeing the 40 megapixels. Um, but Olympus, the TG5 in this case, and every other Olympus camera I've ever bought has always exceeded my expectations for the price point and the features that I get. So, and they're very, very durable, those cameras, and there's a lot of accessories you can buy for it. I never ended up getting any accessories for it. And it's been a while since I've taken the TG5 out, but when I do, I never regret taking the TG5 uh, if I go out with a specific purpose, like in this case, just as a walk around camera. Now, to be completely honest, if you have a modern cell phone, like if you've gotten one in the last couple of years, it'll probably take better pictures than a TG5, assuming it has RAW capability. Um, but it's not the same, right? The ergonomics are not the same. It's something about having a real camera that's durable, uh, and you're not going to worry about dropping on like a cell phone, you know, and having a shutter button and everything like that, and taking the memory card out. The whole experience of shooting with a real camera, it's very different than shooting with your phone. So if you're only worried about image quality, your phone is going to do better, and you can work around the ergonomics. But if you just wanna walk around camera because you like shooting with cameras rather than with your phone, TG7 is awesome, and the whole TG line. TG5, TG6, TG7. I wouldn't go TG4 because I think that's the older sensor, 16 megapixel sensor. The 12 megapixel sensor with that 25 to 100 lens is awesome, and with the post-processing that you can do in DxO, because DxO supports that camera, and with the noise reduction, oh my god, the images you'll get, I've gotten some amazing, amazing images out of my TG5, especially now because I can process them in DxO. So that was, from 40 minutes ago, but I'm glad I finally found it. If you have any Nikon F-mount lenses, is it worth it to me as I did have a plethora of glass from Nikon? I do have a lot of Nikon F-mount glass because I have a Nikon DF, uh and I shot D750, D7100 before that, D80, D60, D40. I was all in on Nikon, man, forever. Feels like, relatively speaking. Oh, you got all M system. You know, the M system, if the M50 wasn't such a basic camera, I mean, it was competent, but it didn't even have like silent shutter, you know? For a mirrorless camera, how is that possible? Maybe I didn't know how to activate it, but uh, the 33 or 32 millimeter f1.8 or 1.4, whatever it is, the Canon M 33 millimeter, right? Or maybe it was a 32. That is such an awesome lens. If I had bought that lens, I may have kept the M system. And what I'm finding is the lenses are what is driving my decision on what camera system I want to go with. And that's why I couldn't go with Z mount or RF mount, is because the lens system is kind of like good or bad, right? It's like they're really good or they're really bad, cheap and bad, or good but expensive, right? There's kind of, where's that middle ground with the RF lens system? I mean, it's like 24 to 105 f4 is like 1200 bucks or something. It's like, come on. Uh, I mean, I guess that's a good price for a lens that gives you that kind of quality, but yeah, the M system is definitely um there's some great lenses there. I think the 22 prime, I forget now, but when I had the M50, I was looking at all the lenses they had, and there were some really nice choices there, but I didn't pull the trigger because believe it or not, is because I wanted this lens. This lens was about the same price as the 33 1.4 from Canon. Maybe it was a 1.8. And I was like, if I'm going to spend 300 bucks, give or take, um, I'd rather get it for my Micro Four Thirds camera than my Canon M50 because I have the Pen F. So I never pulled the trigger on any Canon M glass because of this lens, actually, because they were all priced around the price of this lens. And if I was going to buy a lens, I'm going to buy this, right? Uh, anyway, I'm just trying to says illusion newest makes for better quality photograph. Most not needed, but nice to have and enjoy until next purchase. Glad to be able to do so without hurting anyone. That's true. That's the only thing is I'm only hurting myself by buying this stuff, right? And because I have this platform, it only benefits you, right? For me to ramble about it. I hope. Oh, the Rolleiflex. Yeah. Nice. That's kind of like buying a Hasselblad, right? You just because there's something about quality made machines like cameras. There's I feel like that era is gone for the most part when you had very quality precision mechanical machines. Watches. I guess watches are still there. They still do watches, but cameras, where are you going to find a quality precision made mechanical camera, right? Um, you're not going to find that anymore. So I totally get it. That's why I got the Hasselblad because it's just such a quality piece and very innovative. And there's just a lot of things that make that camera, I think, very unique. There's certainly better medium format cameras. I think Bronica is a lot cheaper and made just as good, if not better, cameras than Hasselblad in terms of handling and using it because the viewfinder is so clear on the Bronicas without having to spend a fortune. But it has its drawbacks too. Uh, a lot of them had some problems. Particularly the ones that had the auto exposure stuff. But I was looking at a Bronica yesterday. Somebody traded one in while I was there. I was like, man, this is nice. It was a Bronica Zenza 6x6. Wonder, yeah, I talked about this a little bit. The I did try Capture One on yeah, I talked about this, but yeah, it does good, but DxO does just as well. And then it swaps kind of back and I would say 99% of the time they're equal, but there's 1% where one is better than the other and vice versa. And I haven't quite figured out what is triggering that difference. Any thoughts on the DJI Pocket 2/3? Yes, I like it, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to do more research on it because the only thing it really does, because I was looking at the DJI Pocket 2 because it has slightly larger sensor and a little bit wider field of view, and the DJI Pocket 3, or maybe you're asking about both. So the DJI Pocket 2 has a slightly larger sensor, but the wider field of view is the more important thing in this case. That's a lot more. It makes the camera a lot more versatile because you can always add, you know, uh, sort of a teleconverter if you need to narrow the field of view without really affecting the image quality, right? Versus when you want to make a telephoto wider, I found that when you do the opposite of a teleconverter, the image quality goes down a little bit because I bought a wide angle adapter for my Pocket One. I have the DJI One, and I ended up never using it because it gave me a little bit of barrel distortion, and it also sometimes I got vignetting. So on these little tiny camera, well, on the DJIs, I found that it's better to start wide and then add something to kind of narrow the field of view rather than the other way around. So I like that the DJI Pocket 2 has the wider field of view, slightly larger sensor, better noise performance, just marginal, right? Now the DJI Pocket 3 adds a 1-inch sensor to the game, and I think it has the same field of view as the DJI Pocket 2. But I don't know if it's enough for me to upgrade my DJI Pocket 1 yet, because I ended up buying, um, let me just grab everything. So I found that using this 360 camera is more useful to me for the things I need to do. Um, but this is still very, very handy. It does, and you shoot in the DJI Cinema or whatever they call it. They have sort of a flat profile for this. This actually still does a really good job, and I don't know that I need. Um, I don't think a 1-inch sensor is going to cut it to be able to replace for what I need it to do. But this 360 one, this I forget what this is called. It's an Insta 360 something. This has dual 1-inch sensors, like one on each side, but the field of view is so wide, it's like a tiny sensor in the end. Um, these do a good enough job, so I would say just save a bunch of money. You can get a DJI Pocket 2 for like 200 bucks. I would just get a DJI Pocket 2 and skip the Pocket 3. Because how often are you really now the Pocket 3 obviously is going to have better low light performance. I don't know how often you're going to need that though, really. Um, I would just go with the DJI Pocket 2 because DJI Pocket 2 you can get the DJI wireless mic, which makes it a lot easier uh, for vlogging and stuff like that, and audio. This one you have to buy an adapter to plug in, and I don't know. This is a little bit more modular. It's not as polished as the DJI Pocket 2. So I wouldn't buy the one anymore, particularly because you can't replace the battery, so you don't know what condition the battery's in if you buy a DJI Pocket 1. But if you buy a really good DJI Pocket 2, I think that's still better than spending twice as much to get the DJI Pocket 3. Um, like I said, the only advantage the DJI Pocket 3 I think is going to have is low light, but not by much. It's because the Pocket 2 has the 1.7. For Olympus, which Wayne Cox asked for Olympus shooter, which processing? Definitely DxO, Photolab Elite 7. Definitely. Does everything. Um, but more than that, it gives you the best results. Now, just be conscious though, it doesn't do panoramas, meaning it doesn't stitch images together. It doesn't have HDR functionality. You have to get like Nick Collection to do that. Um, doesn't have focus stacking, right? So it's missing some really key features that you can get in just about any other software these days. But if you're talking about single image processing, I think it does the best job. And then what I do is I'm experimenting a little bit with whatchamacallit, the plugin, like free panorama software and some free HDR software. And if those work well enough, they'll be nice additions to the DxO Photolab Elite. Uh, Now, I don't know if Capture One, Walter might be able to speak to this if he's still here. If Capture One has panorama and HDR and stuff, I think it does, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Luminar does, and I'm positive Adobe does. If you want to get everything, panorama, HDR, focus stacking, all that stuff in a very well streamlined package, the Photoshop Elements, and it also has some data asset management stuff too, right? Photoshop Elements is less than $100 all day long. I bought mine for $50, but that was like 10 years ago. Photoshop Elements is probably the best deal in photo editing software out there, and I think they have the noise reduction and stuff now too. But check out Photoshop Elements if you want that other stuff. But if you want the very best results and you're willing to work with all the little sliders and stuff and the workflow works for with your brain, uh, DxO is my opinion the best photo processing software out there. But you have to supplement it with other stuff because it's not flushed out in full. Um, and right now it's $169. Uh, I think with the Black Friday sale. So I'm pretty sure I have affiliate links down below for that. Um, Download the 30-day free trial of DxO and see if you like the results and compare that with. You can download 30-day free trials on everything and pick an image that's typical of what you shoot, maybe even some with a little bit higher ISO, and compare that with all the other software. And then think about if you can live with the differences, right? Because they might be very subtle. You'll be like, well, I'll just get the one that has it all, like Photoshop Elements. Or, no, I want to get the very best image quality every time I process, and then I'll supplement with these other things. Like you could buy Photoshop Elements and DxO for about right now, probably around in the 200 to 250 range, and you'd be set for a while because then you get everything, right? Another good one is Affinity Photo. That has everything. It doesn't have the noise reduction capability. I haven't checked. I have to download their free trial and see how it is now. Because my copy Affinity is a little bit old. Uh, but even my old copy had all kinds of things built into it. Um, but yeah, try them all. You have to find the one that works best for your workflow and for the kind of images you take. And for me, I ended up having DxO and the Photoshop. I have both because I need both. I need to do panoramas, I need to do HDR, I need to do focus stacking. I need all these things, but Photoshop by itself doesn't do good enough job on the processing. Uh, so that's why I use DxO because I really like the workflow and the end results that I get with DxO. And let's see, Zoltan says, I wish I could have an X-Tran Fuji camera. I prefer X-Trans over the Bayer Kodak sensors. Exactly, right? When you buy a Fujifilm camera, make sure you get the X-Trans sensor because they had a few models that didn't have it. Uh, that's kind of the uniqueness of Fuji, right? And it's kind of like if you're gonna, you want to buy their signature product or signature technology. Like DxO's signature technology is the D Prime XD. I buy it just for that specifically. Um, but Fujifilm, yeah, get an X-Trans sensor. A lot of people buy the XT1 just to get the X-Trans sensor, and they're only a couple $100 now, right? And Fuji is the best. For camera design, I love Olympus. I guess. I mean, Fuji's nice, but I think I think Olympus is the best. Of course, now I have an R5. I don't know. Maybe it'll be the best next. I don't know. Uh, I do like my XH2 a lot though, but my expectations weren't quite met. My expectations were a little bit too high maybe. Um, Topaz is not upgraded since 4.1. I don't know what version I have. Let me take a look. There's gigapixel. It won't even come up. I don't know. I think I have version 3, but anyway, because mine was from 2020 or 2021, but it still works great. Awesome. And nine, that's 2 to 400. I think that's about 9 stops. That's awesome. ND filters, man, they let you do a lot of things um, for long exposure type stuff, right? A lot of people use it for video, right? Which is not my thing, but for long exposure photography, ND filters are awesome. And my face is slightly out of focus. Oh, maybe that's a good thing because I don't have the best skin. There. Okay. Hopefully that's better. EM10 Mark II, right? Contrast detect. And John follows. Good to see you. It's cold here today too, man. It's like I woke up this morning. My room was 12 degrees Celsius, if I recall correctly, which is about 54 degrees in Fahrenheit. It was cold. Outside was like 30 degrees. And Walter took off. Okay, Walter, sorry. I've been on here a while. I should probably give it up, right? Really, the fact you like to thoroughly test. I try. I try. And the downside to that is sometimes I never get around to it. Like I never talked about my S5, my S1R. I talked briefly about the S1R. I never talked about my XT30, my Canon M50. I had all these cameras that I didn't really shoot with enough to really have a strong opinion about. And even though now that I got the XH2 and this the R5, I don't even know if I'll really get into these enough. I should because I just spent a boatload. Ah, God, I'm an idiot. Why? Why? If I was married, I wouldn't be anymore. I know that. I remember I bought, well, anyway. Um, I'm not having any issues signing into Google, but I have noticed the internet has slowed down quite a bit overall. Uh, I imagine because everybody's shopping Black Friday deals and Cyber Monday deals. So I'm sure you'll be fine. And Tony is just so arrogant. He's okay. I mean, I've never really had a problem with him other than uh, he said Micro Four Thirds is dead. I mean, that was a stupid thing to say. Um, but he tries. I think he tries to be give an honest, fair review. It's just he's not everything he talks about. I don't know. He doesn't review. He did a really good review on the A7R5, though. I'll give him that. Him and Chelsea. I like Chelsea. she's like, "It just works. I don't know what the technical terms are, it just works." And I'm like, "You know what? You're right, it just works." Um, but he didn't do such a great job on the wildlife lenses or the cameras. He had a couple of videos like that. I don't think I know he put a lot of work into it, but he tried to do too much at once and then ended up not doing a great job overall, right? Um, that's just too you can't like review 10 lenses and cameras all at once, uh, and then come up with a reasonable ratings on all of them, right? My opinion. I mean, I get it. He's experienced and he can go through testing and whatever methodology he has. The only person that I've seen that's an extremely consistent methodology is um I forget his name now. Christopher Frost, because he reviews lenses and cameras time to time. But his reviews are so consistent that uh, even though he's not testing, you know, in a way that works for me for the buying decisions I need to make, um, he's definitely a go-to channel for me to see a lens review because it's very consistent. So I can look at a lens review he did on one lens, compare that to a similar lens that he did later or before, and get a good understanding of which lens is a little better at certain things, right? Not everything, but at certain things. Particularly close-up focusing. I like that test that he does, and the sharpness close up because I like to do macro time, not macro, but close-up photography, and it gives me a good idea. And I like his corner-to-corner sharpness. So he does a lot of things right, and he's very, very consistent, and it's very easy to you can almost make a complete buying decision off his videos alone. I don't recommend you do that. You really need to look at reviews of a lens from a lot of different people and come to a consensus. But uh, if you only had to watch one person for lens reviews, Christopher Frost would be the one. Uh, and for cameras, depends what level you're at. Um, I just want a very high level type review. I think Chris and Jordan, they do a good sort of high level, touchy feely kind of review. And they get into some specs, but they don't dwell on them, right? They kind of rattle them off and then say, yeah, you can see it, or you can't see it, or it does this, it doesn't do this well. It's just kind of a overview. Um, but that's not the only thing you should watch, right? You need to kind of watch them all, unfortunately. Otherwise, everybody would be making 2, 3 hour videos on a review, which they should if they really want to review it properly, right? Okay, I'm almost caught up here on the chat. Would you buy the new G9 based on the updated version specs, or is the old G9 good enough if I had find one used? For sports wildlife, the G9 original is not going to cut it. G9 2 is by far superior. Having that phase detect, that fast autofocus, subject detect, all of that. If you're just doing street stuff, everyday camera, G9 is fine, right? And it'll do sports action wildlife to an extent, uh, but nowhere near what the new G9, the G9 Mark II can do. Um, and I'm basing this off what I've seen online, like everybody else, right? I've never used a G9. I don't think I've ever even held one in my hand, or a G9 II for that matter. But what's her name? Emily from Micro Four Nerds did a great review on the G9 Mark II. And if you compare that to videos on reviews of the G9, you'll see that the G9 Mark II is way better. Um, so I would not buy a G9 unless it was just like an everyday street type stuff. Um, Micro Four Third YouTubers too often come from a position of being less than. I'm sorry, of the pity party. I know MFT is, and I choose to use it. I know, right? We get it. Micro Four. Most of us as Micro Four Thirds users get it. It's a smaller sensor. We know. So just shoot. Faster lenses, better light. You know, longer shot. Whatever. If it's too dark, don't take the picture. It's that simple. It's not like if you had a full frame camera and took the picture in the same light, it's going to be much better, honestly, in my opinion. What people gripe about is like, I saw somebody griping about, they shot in good light a Micro Four Thirds camera against a full frame camera in the same light, and they're like, the full frame image is cleaner. There's a little tiniest bit of noise, even at base ISO on a Micro Four Thirds. So post process a little bit if you care, you know. And you want, in a blind test, nobody else going to be able to tell the difference. Um, but they were complaining even in good light, they didn't like the look of the Micro Four Thirds, and that's okay. I mean, but for those of us that shoot Micro Four Thirds, we know what it is, and we love everything about it. For what it is. What it is gives us smaller, lighter, more affordable cameras. uh, the fact that their lenses are so good, there's something rewarding about being able to take something, um, and knowing getting the most out of it. It At least for me, it like I keep looking at this and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this other than review a couple lenses, and that was the stupidest thing I've done all year is buy that camera, but we'll see. And the OM5 will be updated next year, as by the end of 2024, won't be able to sell it in the EU, as all will require USB-C port. Interesting. I heard something about that they're going to require everything be USB-C, some kind of unified, I don't know. 88 watching and 39 likes. Let's see, I'm showing 73 now. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm having a good day on a stream. Last I gotta quit. I know, I've been on here forever. I should probably end it, but let me just get to the bottom here. I'm just trying to get to the chat questions now. That was me just wondering if you thought it was a good walk around camera. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's fine. If you like shooting cameras, okay, let's see. Yeah, Robin Wong is amazing. He's really amazing. I mean, we're very lucky to have uh, Robin and Jimmy and Peter and Emily, both Emilys. The Michael Four Thirds community is, everyone is awesome. That would be nice. I think, yeah, if they could weather seal at least that lens. They don't have to weather seal everything, but if they did, it would be great. Uh, you know, I think Robin Wong has a video. We need more 1.4 lenses. Definitely. I think if we can get more 1.4 lenses like this from Olympus or Panasonic, because Panasonic has the 12 millimeter 1.4. That's a little big, though. I'd rather have the 15 1.7. They made this 1.4 without making it too big. They had 9 millimeter 1.8, which is awesome. But yeah, more weather sealing on all the lenses. That would be awesome. Yeah, yeah, I got it last night, Henry, the R5. I'm still not. I mean, anyway, maybe after I take more than two pictures with it, I'll like it more. I just bought it because it's such a good deal. Because I can say, see that camera right there? Everybody's like, yeah, yeah. I got it for less than $3,000, and everybody be like, ooh. Now it's like, ooh, wait, that's pretty good, you know? brand new warranty, because you can buy like the import models for around 3,000, but I got this with warranty and everything. Uh, so anyhow, oh hey Jan, how are you? Yeah, I'm not really shooting with it yet, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Uh, Roger has a question here. Says the 40 to 150 better in sharpness than 14 to 150, and yes, I believe the 40 to 150 because I had the 14 to 150 um, for about a year, and I ended up selling it. I'd rather shoot the kit lenses, the 14 to 42 and the 40 to 150 separately. They're better than that one lens by itself. I might have done some video on it, but that 40 to 150 f4 to f5.6 is so good. It's so good. My copy anyway. If you get a copy and not happy with it, I'd exchange it if you can, if you have that opportunity. Because the copy, I don't know why. I'm either the luckiest Micro Four Thirds lens buyer ever, because every copy of the Micro Four Thirds lenses I've ever gotten have been so good. Um, so I've heard different things, but yeah, I got an XH2. You did read the title of this stream, right? There's no cure for gear acquisition or gas. Oh my God. Yeah, so Zoltan, maybe you can elaborate more too, what you found with your kit. For me, at the 150 millimeter range, the 14 to 150 just sucked, especially the out of focus areas. But even the in focus areas were just, ugh, it was a train wreck. Maybe it was my copy of the 14 to 150. That might have been the one lens I got a bad copy of. But I could not shoot with that anymore after I took it out for a little while. And after about a year, an opportunity came for me to trade it and get something else, and I did. I think I traded to get the 300 millimeter f4. It was one of the lenses I traded in. Yeah, the M6s were sweet. That was a sweet little camera. I really like the look of that. I like the silver edition. If it came in anything else, but I remember a silver one. The top plate was kind of silver with silver around the shutter button. I like that a lot, actually. And hi, Robin Schaefer. Good to see you. I'm glad you could join us. I'm almost done, actually. I'm doing like a Robin Wong stream, like 3 hours. This is crazy. I thought I'd get on for an hour and just talk about a few cameras, but um, yeah, YouTube's going to be dropping ads in the middle of the stream. It's a little disrupting, right? But between the ads and the coffees and donations, that's the only money I got coming in right now. I haven't had like a photo job in a couple of months. Wintertime's slow. So it's been a little lean for Uncle Rob here. Um, yeah, Affinity Photo, focus stacking and pano. It also has star stacking too, right, for Astro. And very, very competent photo editor. I paid $25 for mine when I got it. It was version one something, 25 bucks, and it does a great job. Yeah. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Nice pictures, by the way. Lauren emails me links to his galleries time to time. He's a terrific photographer. Yeah, that's true. And is the XH2 not their Starfleet? Yeah, it's their signature camera. That and the XT5 now. I think the XH2 came out before the XT5. I don't like the the dials on the XT. I might get an XT3 because I love the look of the vintage look of it. Because now that I have the lenses, just getting an XT3 for a couple $100 if I can find one. I think they're still selling for like 1,000 though. I ain't doing that. But if I can get one for 300, 400, I might pick up an XT3. Just because I like the look of it. Put on my shelf over here, or in my cabinet. You know, next next to my Pen PL8. And Lauren says, "I'm coming up." Oh, you bought the Z5 and the 40. No kidding. I didn't like that 40 millimeter. It's a 40 millimeter 2.5 or 2.8. I didn't. I only took a few shots with it and looked at them on my computer, and I was like, this lens is not that great. If the 40 millimeter was really good, I might have a ZF right now instead of an R5. But I went to one of the events and I shot the ZF and the 40 millimeter, and I was not impressed at all. I didn't like it. And the 40 millimeters was like affordable, right? But I didn't like it at all. So uh, the Z5 though I think is a great street camera. I'm just not convinced that lens is all that great. Basil's like, let's do another hour. Oh my God. If my voice holds up. I remember when I started streaming, I wanted to do a 24-hour stream. I don't know. One day. I remember his demo of A1. It was absolute disaster. I don't think I've seen the A1 video. I didn't ban Tony and Chelsea. I just didn't watch as much because they didn't talk about Micro Four Thirds at all. But now that they're talking about it again, they're getting my attention for just everything else they do. But um, there's another guy, Don, that does YouTube, and I don't forget his last name. Starts with a G. Um, that Micro Four Thirds guy, and I should do a couple of like group. You know how I do the annual Micro Four Thirds thing? There's so many Micro Four Thirds shooters now on YouTube, which is awesome. But I can't bring them all in at once. It just would be a nightmare for me. So I might have to do a couple, like split it up. Like this week, we're gonna have the usual suspects, right? Peter, Jimmy, and um, Robin. My brain is starting to fall apart here, but the usual suspects, and then another week have another group of Micro Four Thirds shooters, some of the smaller channels. For now, seems like everybody's channels get bigger than mine after a little while. I'm like the smallest channel of all of them now. He ripped in. Tony was also saying using full frame lens on crop sensors is wrong. Yeah, that's the thing with Tony is he's kind of a pixel peeper type photographer, right? If the lens doesn't, I mean, maybe that's his audience, and he's just catering to his audience, which are a bunch of pixel peepers. Where if they put on a full frame lens or vintage lens on a modern camera, yeah, I get it. It's not as sharp sometimes, but it has certain character and charm, and sometimes, uh, anyway, I don't fault him too much for a lot of the things he says. And the only thing I that upset me is when he said Micro Four Thirds was dead. I get it; it's just his opinion, but he has a certain authority on YouTube because of the number of subscribers. And putting something out like that doesn't do anyone any good, you know. Um, I don't like to say anything negative about anything or anybody or anything that's going on because it doesn't do any good. If you can't say something useful or helpful, don't say anything. Just shut up, you know? Um, Robin has been very skeptical about the future of Micro Four Thirds, but he's trying to help, right? He's trying to be positive and encouraging. He's not just coming out and saying Micro Four Thirds is dead. He's like, it could die if we don't do these things. That's his opinion. But then he tells you what they need to do, right? To can it survive. So that's kind of a key difference between what Robin is doing and what Tony did some years ago. Um, yeah, I remember the video about Steve McCurry, and then he had a follow-up video where he had to kind of back up everything he said. Um, that's another one of his videos that, why say something negative about something, even if it's true? Why bring it up? You know, because there's a lot of things that go on that I don't like that are absolutely true, definitively true, that I don't talk about because I can't do anything to help. You know, at least not publicly. Um, I would agree with you 100% on Ken Wheeler, the angry photographer. I'd say every single Nikon lens I bought was based off a recommendation he did, and I actually sent him some donations uh, every time I bought a lens based on his recommendation. Um, the 135 3.5, the 35 millimeter Zeiss f2 Distagon, the 105 2.5, the 50 1.8. I could go on. Every single lens I did not buy unless he said it was a good lens. A lot of people said things are good, but he was the only one talking about it with any kind of authority, believable authority. And I discovered Ken Wheeler. I discovered the angry photographer not because of his camera reviews. I was looking up something about uh, physics related, because he used to do these like things on physics or magnetism, and I just got to bug up my butt about physics. I like to understand how things work and why they work. And one of his videos came up about physics, and I was pretty impressed with how he presented the material and the breadth of knowledge that he had on that subject, whether it's uh, officially like an academic type knowledge or if it's whether through self-taught. I never discount anyone's opinion based on the title that they have or the education they have. Everybody has can be a genius at something regardless of their background. So, I never discount, somebody's opinion based on their background or what their perceived knowledge of that might be. So I don't know what Ken Wheeler's background is in physics and all of that, but he definitely convinced me. Whatever that video was, I can't remember now. So many years ago. Uh, and the same goes true for every people I meet in life in general. My general uh, m- generally how I approach people is I don't make any assumptions about what they know and don't know, regardless of what titles they may have. Because you've met people that have like a bunch of people, bunch of degrees, PhDs or whatever, and they're just, oh my God, you have to have a certain amount of respect for people that have gone through the academic trials of getting a PhD. That's not a small thing, with the papers they have to write and all of that. But uh, after they got their degree, every single word that comes out of their mouth is just junk, just stupid. Um, I'm sure you know people like that. So having a degree you have a certain amount of respect that I can give you because you have that degree, because I know it's not a small thing to get something like that. But then if everything you say out of your mouth after that just proves otherwise or whatever, um, it's okay. And there's other people that have a certain sense, or they have a certain, I don't know why I'm talking. This has nothing to do with cameras. But there's some people that just have a certain sense of things, of how things work or how things should be, and might go on to study that thing, right? Whatever it is on their own, they're self-taught and be an expert on it, right? Oh my God, that is so true. That is so true. Like the picture of the cat that I showed earlier, that was a properly exposed image at ISO 5000, and it cleaned up nicely. You didn't even have to clean it up, but it cleaned up really nicely. If I could have uh, a poorly exposed image at ISO 200, and it's going to look like crap. I got a lot of those because the subject was backlit, so I'm getting like glaring and ghosting and all the other bad things that happen with backlit subjects. Nothing's going to save an image like that. It's got nothing to do with the sensor, but yeah, it's frustrating to watch when that happens. Sony has dynamic range, great sensor. Does it feel like a camera? No, it definitely feels like a piece of technology. Just like my Sony NEX, and why I got out of the Sony system when I first started. I shot with the Sony NEX for about a year and a half before I switched to a Nikon D40, believe it or not, and a D7100 shortly thereafter, because I actually preferred the optical viewfinder. I just took a hard right away from this mirrorless EVF, digital experience, and went to full on DSLR, mirror, box, all that. Funny thing is, when I was shopping cameras back then, the EM1 Mark One, the original, was out, but they wanted over $1,000 for that with no lens, and that kind of put it out of the running for me. And I think they had an EM10, uh, but for whatever reason, I ended up getting the Sony NEX with the kit lens for like $600 back in 2013, which I thought was a lot of freaking money back then for a camera. Come to realize that's nothing, right? But uh, I wonder what would have happened if I sprung for an EM1 original, and maybe, I don't know, the 12 to 40, whatever lens came with it then. I would have spent 3 times as much, but maybe I wouldn't have all this other stuff now. And the G100 Lumix is underrated. Yeah. I mean, the only thing missing is what, the IBIS? Whoop-de-doo, just shoot, reciprocal roll, right? And you're fine. I mean, I don't think people really need IBIS. I mean, it's nice to have, but we did, I mean, IBIS certainly helps, but it's not that. I mean, I have what, 8 stops of IBIS on this, right? I took a picture at 1/40th of a second of my dog, and it was blurry. Motion blur. Now, I don't know if it was me shaking or my dog moving, or some combination of that. But having IBIS does not save you from motion blur if the subject itself is moving. And I found that even with IBIS, I have to shoot at 1/100th of a second. Uh, Otherwise, I risk getting a motion blur, whether it's me and or the subject. And when you're at 1/100th of a second, you're pretty safe with, up to 50 millimeters anyway. All right, Jeff, we'll see you later. Thanks for stopping in. Jeff Painter took off. I hope everything's going well there. Oh, those images in the whatchamacallit, those are all I'm gonna look at those closer. I really liked, when I look at your images now, Lauren, I look at just kind of the vibe that they're giving on each one. And I didn't worry about, I'm not worrying about the camera specs, but I'll take a look at them now with a different eye, looking for all the imperfections that I thought were there, or maybe they're not. Um, but looking at those wouldn't be fair to the lens because you post process those too. But anyway, yeah, I'll have to look at them again. Oh my God, thank you, Roger. I really appreciate that. That helps me a lot. Man, you have no idea. Especially now that I spent all this freaking money. At some point you got to think, should I really send Rob any donations because he's just buying all this junk anyway? It's gonna waste it. He's buying drugs basically. This is my drug. Our lenses and cameras. Oh my God. If I have helped you guys like in any way, through all my other tutorials and videos or answered a question in the comments, that would be a reason to buy me a coffee, right? Not because I'm buying all this stuff and went into debt. So I really appreciate it. Um, what is it about Micro Four Thirds that has its own kind of cult following, for want of a better phrase, but I think everyone understands what I mean. I don't know, it's just human nature. I mean, there's people want a sense of belonging in general. Otherwise, there would be no team sports, right? There wouldn't be stadiums where people come together and enjoy something as a group, right? Whether it's watching a sport or buying a certain brand of car, Ford versus Chevy or Ferrari. It's just human nature, I think, to want to be a part of something. So Micro Four Thirds is my thing, right? Or photography in general is what I enjoy and like to be a part of and hang out with other people that like, like-minded people, so to speak. Um, but I don't think you'll find Micro Four Thirds owners jumping out and saying it's the best thing ever. You're not going to get better image quality from any other system. Nobody says that, and nobody should, regardless of camera system. I mean, a Fujifilm GFX 100S Mark II, you know, is not the perfect camera, right? Certainly it's the best detail. My God, I can't believe the detail I've seen out of that thing. But certainly not the best camera. And anyone that says otherwise is, lying, or doesn't know any better. Yeah, solution orientated, not negativity, right? We try. I mean, you can't help it sometimes but to be negative. But on YouTube, the difference is not like when we're live, but you don't have to upload that video, but some people they take the time to create this video, edit it, and put it out there and make a negative video. It's like, you know, for me, if I'm streaming live and I take a hard turn into something negative, that can happen because we're all human. But uh, see, I'm being negative about people putting negative things on online, right? So it's kind of a oxymoron, I guess. I don't know. If you say no, do you really mean yes. It's kind of one of those things, right? Um, so anyway, people are going to do what they want to do. It's just whether you want to watch it or not. First time. Oh, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. My live streams aren't known for being uh, particularly informative or entertaining, but I do them because I enjoy them, and I'm glad you guys can join me, and we all have like some time together to talk about photography. Um, but if you ever have any questions, just let me know. I think you did ask one earlier, but one of the things that's going on me is my memory, though. I I I should take my I would take a cognitive test, but I know I'm doing better than my mom who took a cognitive test, and she just barely crossed the line between cognitive or not. I'm certainly better than her, so I think I would pass a cognitive test. But I lost a client because I couldn't remember their name. It was so bad. I mean, I was looking right at the guy, and I said, "Jim, Bob," and he's like, "No, I'm so and so. You know, the guy that pays you $100 an hour." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's right. I just saw you last week too." It's like I do individual tutoring time to time, and this guy was paying me $100 an hour, and I could not remember his name. I mean, that was pretty bad, but uh, oh yeah, Don Gum. Yeah, I like Don Gum. I definitely should have him in a live stream. Maybe I'll email him, see if he wants to come on next week. Um, Conrad, good to see you. Says, I hope you're having a great weekend. Oh, it is still Sunday, isn't it? I stuck with a choice. I used DSLR Nikon for years, and I want to move to mirrorless, but not Nikon. Probably Fujifilm. Yeah, I would just get like the 26 megapixel version. I don't know if the 40 megapixels worth it because it forces you to buy all the top tier glass, and then when you buy it and take pictures with it, you're like, it's not that much difference. And if you watch some reviews online, not all of them, but a lot of them say, yeah, there's not that much difference between 26 and or whatever the sensor is and 40 on Fujifilm. And you can like I had the Fujifilm X-T30 with the 35 millimeter f2, uh, the cheap one, the $200 one, the XC version, and that took the sharpest images. I mean, so sharp, and then you combine that with the Fujifilm. I was shooting in Chrome Sim, and I did a photo walk once or twice with it, and the images were sublime. They were just wonderful. Uh, I just didn't like the camera itself so much. I didn't like the dials and the controls. It was just I didn't like the camera, but I can't fault the image quality I got from that sensor and that lens combination. And you can find that in the XT3, XT4, X Pro 3, XE4, all very affordable. Well, some affordable options in there. Certainly the 35 millimeter f2 XC version at $200, brand new. That combination is pretty amazing. So try out their different cameras. And if you like the look and feel and the controls and the layout all works for you, I mean, coming from Nikon, you're used to a PSAM dial, so you may not like the workflow on those Fujis. I think the XE4 is not like that. I think the XE4 has the PSAM dial, but um, definitely, definitely, you know, don't invest too heavily into it until you're sure you like that workflow. Because it didn't work for me. Ken Rockwell is the star of photography. Wow, he certainly puts a lot of work into his website. I haven't watched his YouTube. I think I watched one about a year ago, but I know his website. I relied on a lot when I was making buying decisions back when I was shooting Nikon. And that's awesome. Thank you, Vanzini, the great Vanzini. Thank you so much. Um, just for the heck of it. Okay, everybody join in just for the heck of it now. I'm just kidding. Thank you, and thank you, Lauren. My goodness, thank you so much. And you always find that's good. I'm glad. I share a little knowledge. Someone I know got the Fuji X100V. I wonder how that compares to the XT5. Um, I don't know. I'm familiar with the XT5 because I have the same sensor and a lot of and obviously the same lenses the XT5 would use. But the X100V is a whole different animal. I think it's a 26 megapixel with supposedly they fixed the lens because I had an X100F uh, and I didn't like it at all. It was horrible camera for me. I know a lot of people love the X100 series, but I ended up just really not liking it at all. The XH2 I like. I like everything about it. I just was expecting more out of 40 megapixels, but I need to shoot with it more, and then I'll come with a conclusion. And the S10, I'm not familiar with the S10 very much, but and the XT32, I don't know. I would get the S10 over the XT32 just because of the dial. It has a normal dial on it. And Marco is here. Hey, Marco. Happy Thanksgiving, belated Thanksgiving. Yeah, I should wrap it up here. It looks like things are winding down. Um, yeah, Lauren has a leaf shutter and a special viewer. Yeah, it didn't work for me when I had the X100F. Um, but I'm thinking maybe an XT3 is in my future. Um, because now I have all the lenses, so it's not like I'd be investing full on. What did you buy? Everything. I bought everything. I got I bought okay, I'll do it quickly in order, then I'm gonna go for people that joined really late. So I bought this 25 millimeter f1.4 Panasonic Leica. Love this, love this. Uh, I bought the XH2 33 1.4, 23 1.4, 55 to 200, 56 1.4. So I'm flushed out with lenses on that. And you add on, I had already before I bought those the 18 to 55 and 23 or 25 1.8. I have some other lenses for it and adapters and stuff and extension. I had a bunch of stuff already because I had an XT30. And then I got the Sony A7R5 with the Tamron 35 2.8, which I got a killer deal on all that stuff. So you'll have to watch from the beginning. But less than 3,000 bucks brand new for all that stuff. Or around 3,000 bucks for all that stuff brand new. Um, but yeah, there's no logic to it. It's just gas. Oh, cool. I hear that the new Rode mic is really good. I'm pretty content with the one I'm using. I used this GVM one. Uh, those work well, and I like the Comica or Comica mics. They got sent to me for free, and I did reviews on them. An A7R5. No, Olympus not going anywhere. Trust me. If you watch the beginning of the stream, I kind of go into more detail about it. Yeah, yeah, I went nuts. I know. Uh, but yeah, it wasn't my first choice. I just can't resist a good deal. I saved overall about 12 or 1,300 bucks, brand new on all this stuff. So it was either that or get a used. I had to get a full frame Sony camera, and it just a lot. Anyway, it's a long story. I if you watch the beginning of the stream, I found about 10 different ways to justify that purchase. Um, but okay, I'm gonna end it here. If no one has any other questions, you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I really appreciate you coming and joining me. It was always a lot of fun to talk to everyone, and hopefully I was able to help one or two people out. I encourage you guys to ask more questions next time, even though it might take me a little while to get to them. But you guys are always awesome. Thank you so much for the super chats and the buy me a coffee and donations that support everything I do here. I'm going to try and do some more videos now here. Uh, Hopefully, it slows down a lot for me in this, you know, winter time. So I have some time to make some videos. So you guys look forward to that. Subscribe, hit the like button, buy me a coffee, all that good stuff. It is greatly appreciated, and it gets put to good use. I try to reinvest everything back into the channel. So thanks again, and I hope to see you guys again soon. I don't know how to end these sometimes. Let's see. There we go. All right. Now we're here. Oh, thanks, Conrad. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in and joining.